So I'm going to be sharing a lot of information with you, and I ask that you just take what works and resonates for you. You'll know what resonates for you if you get a twinge, or you feel like, oh, that does not feel good, or if you get goosebumps, or if you just feel in your heart swell up, and you just know that that is something for you. So about 5-6 years ago, I found myself depressed in my bed, and I was not feeling like I could leave the room. I felt like I was trying to get my little 4-year-old daughter to climb up on the counter to make her own breakfast. I would explain to her the end of the sidewalks so that she could go out there and get some fresh air without me having to go out with her. I was in a very dark, unfamiliar place. And I share all of this so you can find your story in my story. And long story short, I started to listen to my spirit and the fact that it just asked me to go for a walk. I couldn't even go for a walk. I used to be a runner. I was pretty athletic. I was a trainer, but I couldn't even get myself to get on my shoes and go for a walk around my block. And I remember the day that I finally laced up those shoes and took that first step. And it was a really profound moment for me. In that walk or shuffle around the block, my heart was opening. I was feeling everything starting to crack. Everything that I was shielding in my room, in my covers, was starting to crack. And the birds were chirping, and I remember the cracks in the sidewalk and the trees lining the street. I just opened my heart more to just release all the pain, release the things that I was feeling inside. And it was a very aha moment for me because I had heard about movement curing depression, and I had actually practiced that, telling people that, but here I was feeling it on a very, very cellular level. That these walks were the permission for me to cry. These walks were the permission for me to go within. These walks were the permission for me to get the energy circulating, tap into divine source, God, universe, whatever you call it. For me, it was God, and I needed to hear him and hear my breath through the movement. And I also started to remember my love for superfoods, and I started to know that I needed energy. I needed radical healing on a very spiritual level as well as in my body. My body felt so run over by a truck. How many of you can relate to this? And I was watching as I was moving and I was eating these foods that I was just feeling completely different. I was waking up. I felt alive again. I felt like I could feel the fog in my brain was lifting. And I knew I was onto something. I knew that this wasn't just for me. That I needed to share this with others. And I started sharing it with my clients that would work with me for an hour at a time. I was like 10 to 15 minutes, like, we can do this. And I was watching my body change, my face, my energy for most part, and my connection to my source was changing. But this is the interesting thing. Before all this happened, I feel like, you know how we hit rock bottom and then we find out there's even more rock bottom? And you're like, wow, I didn't even think I could get that far down. And I found myself in my other rock bottom, and that was going through a really, really hard divorce. And most divorces are hard, but mine was ugly. And there has been forgiveness now, but it was really painful. I found myself with $47 to my name, single mom, and I was sleeping on the floor on my mattress. I was using tin foil on a TV antenna to get 2 channels. I barely had money to give my kids food. And it was a really lonely, dark place for me. And it was a place where, yes, it was actually okay to sleep on the floor on a mattress. Yes, it was okay that I had $47 to my name. Yes, it was okay that I felt alone and I had isolated myself. And it was even okay that I'd lost my son. And what was not okay was the negative words I was telling myself every single day. I'm a terrible mom. I'm a waste. I don't matter. I've ruined their lives. I'm a financial ruin. I'm not enough. I'm terrible. I'm not pretty. I'm never going to have a partner. All these words were just swimming in my head. And I really love the lotus flower. I love the lotus flower for the message that it contains in it. So you know the lotus flower is one of the most revered flowers in the world. And the reason it is because where it grows. It grows in the swamp. It grows literally in the mud and the muck, and it uses the mud and the muck as nutrients for its growth. And here I was planted literally in the mud and the muck of my life. Broke as a joke, lonely, disconnected from people. I had isolated people. I was going through a transition in my beliefs, and so my parents had isolated me. My ex was doing horrible things to me, didn't even want me alive. And I was planted in the mud and the muck. I wasn't even sprouted yet. I didn't even know that if I wanted to keep going. Like, I wondered how I could, but I had these two beautiful girls. And I had a responsibility in my heart and a knowing that life could be more. How many of you feel that way? You feel that you're in the mud and the muck of your life. You're in the pain. You're in the destruction, the collapse, whatever you call it. And a lot of you are walking around saying you're broken. And I'm here to tell you right now that you're not. And that you never will be broken. That energy is never stopped. That you just might be having your breakthrough. And this might just be your moment to really stand in, what do I believe in? What is trying to make its way in my life? What is falling apart in my life to make room for the new?